Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Hope you're doing swell. It's like so well put together. Today, we got some holy grail fragrances, some real top-notch scents, both niche and designer, because that's the way to do it. Don't leave one out, and let them all come. It's a party for everybody. Holy Grail scents, some fragrances that I think are just fantastic in their own little niche, their own little spot in the fragrance world, the fragrance sphere. So let's jump into it. Let's check out some Holy Grail fragrances that go above and beyond. Before we jump into some Holy Grails, let's talk about holy codes, holy discount coupon codes. That's redundant, discount coupon. TwistedLily.com and also MaxAroma.com have blessed us with the code GENTS10, which will give you 10% off your order, of course. And then LuckyScent.com has given us 10 Gents, which will do the same thing, 10% off your order. And if you're buying an expensive niche fragrance, which some of these here today are, 10% actually goes a pretty long way. Let's kick things off and get started in a very fashionable and classy way with Man Rose. This is a fragrance from Etro, and I'm not going to pronounce that any better than I just did. Man Rose is, get this, a rose fragrance for men. Man Rose, wow. You were expecting something different? It has geranium, cardamom, vetiver, and bergamot, along with other notes, along with that rose. And it's a really nice one. It's fresh, aromatic, ever so slightly sweet, but as I said, very classy, very sophisticated and gentlemanly, while still being a good fragrance for casual situations. And I would say, as far as men's rose fragrances, which I don't talk about enough, to be fair, I only really talk about two of them with great regularity, which is L'Homme Ultime and Declaration d'un Soir from Cartier. And those are both great scents, absolutely, but this one's just as good, but flies right under the radar. Depending on where you look online, you can find Man Rose for like $150, or I think Fragrance Buy has it for in the 70s, something like that, somewhere around there. I would go for that. Actually, under $100, that is a great buy. Fantastic smelling scent. Next up, Lalique Homage à l'Homme. This guy is another one where if you know, you know. It flies under the radar. Lalique gets talked about for the Encre Noir line, of course, with good reason, and also to an extent L'Insoumis, or even their Pour Homme line. But this guy, this is next level. It is absolutely 100,000% going to appeal more to guys middle-aged and older. So if you're younger, if you're a teenager or in your early 20s, this is probably not going to work for you. I mean, it could if you appreciate fragrances that are very high on the sophistication scale that I just made up. That's not a real thing. But if you appreciate stuff like that, then sure, check it out. It doesn't cost too much when you can find it at discounters, and the quality is astronomical for the price that you pay. Violet leaf, saffron, pepper, oud, and bergamot, some of the notes in the fragrance. It's sweet, has great depth to it, not overdone with sweetness, not funky smelling at all. You don't have to worry about any of those notes. Like violet sometimes, depending on how it's used, can come across with like a gasoline type of feel. Oud, of course, is oud, but this one, you don't have to worry about that. It is just a top-notch, buttoned-up scent. Ooh, my newest one, Contessa by Maresque. Now this, the first time I smelled it, I thought it was just top-notch, and you can see that on my extra Gents channel. That's where I checked this out. But I thought it was quite feminine leaning when I first sprayed it on, very sweet. But as it dries down, ooh, it opens up and it gets so good. It takes on this sweet cinnamon scent profile, along with a lot of vanilla and tonka, which I love that combination. The vanilla here is not overly powdery, so that's very good. It does have some floral notes to it, some floral nuances. Also star anise and pink pepper in here, along with that cinnamon kind of scent profile. This stuff is just an absolute love. The more that I have worn this, the more I just fall in love with it, and I do not care that the opening smells kind of feminine, to the point that when I first smelled it, I thought I'll just give it to my wife because I like the way it smells, but I don't know that I could wear it. But man, once it dries down, you're good to go. After that, Cavalli Womo Silver Essence, way more affordable than Contessa, but really awesome. in its own right. Tonka, cardamom, violet, ginger, and iris, some of the notes in this fragrance. And it's a very wearable iris. It's not the type of iris like you'll find in Prada L'Homme. So it's not that, really powdery, soapy, fresh floral kind of iris. And with the tonka, violet, ginger, and cardamom in here, you may think, a lot of those notes seem to be more fall, winter leaning, so it's probably going to be pretty heavy. But no, it's actually really nice. It's great for neutral weather, kind of splits the difference. It's got a little freshness to it, but it's not overly fresh, but it's also not really heavy either. In terms of versatility, that one is very good. It's the type of scent that you can pull off in all kinds of different situations and smell like $1,000,000. Now I need to get some more fresh stuff in here, so we're going to talk about Montabaco Verano next from Ormond Jane. Grapefruit, Isoe Super, Cashmerean, tea, along with a number of other notes like ozonic notes and more citrus. This one is like a very high-end blue versatile scent that does not shy away from aroma chemicals. And I don't mean that negatively, I just mean they're not necessarily trying to give you something here that's like hyper natural in all facets. Really nice performance with this one off my skin. Just a top-notch, buzzy, zingy kind of blue. Really, really love that. Back to designers, 1,000,000 Lucky. Oh, I'm blinding you. 1,000,000 Lucky, I love the way that it does that mix of warm weather and cool weather notes. So you have honey, you have plum, you have hazelnut, but then you also have this great freshness to it in the opening. You've got citrus in there, you have amberwood giving you that very approachable modern masculine dry down. So you have notes that can come across very heavy, very deep, but then other notes that come across very fresh and they kind of meet in the middle and they give you 1,000,000 Lucky. It's quite unique in my opinion, and it's very different from all the other fragrances in the 1,000,000 lineup. And this one has had a lot of talk about discontinuation. There's been talk about that for a long time, but thankfully you can still find this all over the place. You can find it at Macy's, you can find it at discounters. So right now I think all is good, I hope. Let's get a little more rose action in here. I'm feeling it in my veins today. Lyric Man from Homage. Homage is such an interesting house to me because when I started my YouTube channel and the many years before I started it, when I was just collecting and reading and watching and all this stuff, Homage had a lot of fragrances that were held in such high esteem that over the years, they've slowly kind of like faded to the back of people's consciousness. And as more Homage fragrances come out, you don't really talk about the old ones anymore. Even the original interlude, it doesn't get talked about. You talk about the new interlude, the extrait, or you talk about interlude Black Iris, like me, because I really, really like Black Iris. Or you talk about Overture, or you talk about Boundless, or any of the other ones, Royal Tobacco, the new ones coming out. And you forget sometimes about Reflection and Lyric and Memoir and Jubilation and all these others. So yeah, Lyric, this was at one time one of the most hyped, most talked about Homage fragrances. It is a rose fragrance, as I said, in case you couldn't tell by that very deep red colored bottle. It has lime, saffron, musk, incense, and of course rose. And this one was always described as a jammy rose, as like this thick, decadent rose note. Definitely not made for everybody. A lot of guys will smell this and be like, nah, man, that's way too floral. I can't pull it off. I don't want to smell like a flower bush, man. But I think it smells exquisite. Really, really nice. Is it more difficult to pull off for most guys than a number of other more talked about Homage fragrances? It's more of a formal scent, more of a cool weather scent, but it still does, at least for me, hold its place toward the top of the Homage line. Next up, we're going to talk about L'Occitane Odobo. I like Odobo. I talk about this as much as I can work it in. Price on this at full retail is really not that bad, and sometimes you can get coupon codes to use at L'Occitane to make it a little bit cheaper. They did shrink the bottle size, so that sucks. This one is a 100 ml size, but now it's 75, I believe. People thought they were discontinuing it actually because it was sold out and they weren't getting any more in, and everyone was like, oh no, code red. But then they were like, oh no, we're still making it. We just changed the bottle, guys. Check it out. 25% less for the same price. You're welcome. Thanks, Lockstar. Vanilla and tonka are in this fragrance. And again, I love it. Love the smell. Also has cypress in here. So it's got this nice woodiness. Incense and cardamom as well. So it's like a green, smoky, deep, very rich vanilla scent. Odobo is one of those fragrances, one of those rare fragrances that is hyped up. And so you blind buy it. And then when you smell it, you actually like it more than you thought you would. Up next, a love of mine, Gentleman Cologne. Doesn't get as much love on the whole as the cool weather fragrances in this lineup. You know, Gentleman Eau de Parfum or Reserve Privé, Eau de Toilette Intense to an extent, or even Boisé, Eau de Parfum Boisé. I think Gentleman Cologne is, you know, it's right there with them. I'm a sucker for iris. This gives me iris, so I like that. It's got bergamot and petitgrain, so it gives it this green edge, which I also like. It has almost like a slight aquatic feel to it, but not overdone. This is like a fresh, light water, like a little bit of like a clean, watery stream. Like that's kind of how it smells. It's like this faint waft of water, but it's not like an overdone sea salty water or ocean water or something like that. It's very faint. Also ambroxan and vetiver in here. It's a perfect accompaniment during springtime. Great casually, great to the office. It's an overlooked fragrance in my opinion. Gentleman Cologne is just a wonderful scent. And we got to get an Issey Miyake in here. And Issey Miyake, I'll say it every time, their cool weather fragrances are so good for a designer house. They are just consistently killing it, and they are consistently hard to find in the US. Sometimes they'll be available at discounters, other times they won't. But the one we're going to talk about is Nuit d'Issey Noir Argent. This is some next level stuff in terms of the quality, again, from a designer house. Like it blows me away every time I smell this stuff. Myrrh, leather, olibanum, saffron. It has this rich resinous feel to it with that incense smoke. Patchouli, labdanum, giving it more warmth, more sweetness. I mean, this stuff is just, like I said, next level. You do have to like fragrances that are centered around resins, that do have a little balsamic feel to them. You have to not be afraid of leather and incense, but as long as you're not, check this out. Now this one, yeah, everybody knows this one. It's Spice Bomb Extreme, Viktor and Rolf. Vanilla, tobacco, black pepper, saffron. Smells really spicy, like you would expect. But this one is not quite as in your face as the original. The vanilla here, very well done. I think it's a black vanilla, officially is how they describe the note. It's a very powerful fragrance. It will project out, it'll fill up a room if you spray it on heavily. It will last hours and hours and hours. The type of scent that you spray on before a night out, when you get back in, it's still there. You can still smell it. When you wake up in the morning, you can still smell it, and now it's on your sheets. It is one of the most loved, most hyped, most talked about cold weather fragrances for good reason. Spice Bomb Extreme, my favorite in the line. And we're gonna end it on a Histoire de Parfum fragrance. It is Ombre 114. Amber, vanilla, benzoin, sandalwood, some of the notes in the fragrance. This is a very high quality, obviously niche, amber fragrance that is very easy to wear. Now you would maybe think, yeah, I mean, it's amber. Amber fragrances aren't that hard to pull off, man. And I don't disagree with that. But when you're talking niche amber fragrances, a lot of times they'll have all kinds of supporting notes, right? Different nuances, things going on with the fragrance that can sometimes actually make them a little, if not outright difficult to pull off, tricky to pull off, we'll say. This one has bits of florals, woodiness, but at its heart is what I said before, a very rich, warm, luxurious, cozy amber scent. Warming and sweet. And thankfully, this one pretty affordable from discounters. I think you can get the full-size bottle, 120 mils. This is a 60 milliliter, so it basically looks like the bottle got chopped in half. But you can get the full 4-ounce bottle for under $100 nowadays. So it's a top-notch amber for an affordable price when you consider its niche. So there you have it, 12 holy grail fragrances. These scents right here, I think just rock, every one of these. Let me know in the comments some of your personal holy grail fragrances. They don't need to be hyped or anything like that. They don't need to be loved by the masses. I mean, even if people bomb on it and say that it sucks, if you like it, that's all that matters. So let me know. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Thanks for your support. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.